And so Mr. Sharman's documentary has just been taken down at YouTube for the following reasons. Big exclamation. Medical misinformation. YouTube doesn't allow claims about COVID-19 vaccinations that contradict expert consensus from local health authorities or the World Health Organization. Ooh, no contradicting the World Health Organization. Mark Sharman joins me now. Mark, as I said, you've been in British broadcasting for a very long time. Have you ever just had a piece of work, such as your documentary, just, boom, vaporized in the way that YouTube just did it to you?
No, not at all. Mark, I'm not surprised that it's been cut, but I'm, as an old-school journalist who believes in reporting both sides of a story, I'm dismayed about what's happening. You know, we are being controlled. The narrative on many, many things is being controlled, and the evidence is growing. I mean, the governments, the big pharma companies, big tech, media companies, they've all decided what the line is, and they're sticking to that line come what may. And as you shared earlier in the program, there are more and more pieces of research from around the world which proves there is something seriously wrong with these vaccines. They're clearly not totally safe and effective. They're clearly not safe, and they don't appear to be effective. And all we're asking for, Mark, is some proper, open, scientific debate. You know, if there's something wrong, it should be looked at and stopped before more people are hurt.
People talk about following the science, but YouTube basically spells it out there. By the way, we contacted them to ask for a response, and they didn't get back to us. But YouTube say, you know, what they understand by following the science is actually following public health bureaucrats and the China-controlled World Health Organization. Because as you said just a minute ago, every day, every 48 hours, every week, there's new and new studies, the Journal of the American Heart Association, the European Society of Cardiology, respected bodies saying, no, there's something badly wrong here. And these guys are basically just invested from Ofcom down, which put its thumb on the scale of due impartiality in saying, no, there's only a 2020 consensus that is fixed in perpetuity on this thing. It's late 2020, the vaccines have just been released, and the official version of events can never be changed.
No, that's right. I mean, I'll add some figures to that. You know, there have been 25,000 excess deaths in this country since April. Across Europe, the death rates, excess death rates, are running at 16%. Higher than usual, and strangely, they're higher in the countries that have been most vaccinated. The authorities come up with all kinds of reasons, including lockdown and the heat wave and changing your bed or whatever, but they won't put the vaccine injury on the list. Now, any investigator worth his salt is going to look at every suspect, if only to rule them out, and there is absolutely no excuse whatsoever to not put vaccine injury on that list. And as I said before, I'm not on one side or the other. I would just love to see a proper open debate where somebody can look at what is happening to these vaccine injured and deaths around the world. You know, there are other questions as well about the whole reproductive system, but that's another matter. But again, reports are coming in that should be causing concern to the authorities, but they resolutely won't listen and won't debate it and cut scientists off and have cut our film off. By the way, it was just about to hit 1 million views on YouTube alone.
They don't care if only 473 people want to watch it, Mark. But the minute it turns out there's a real audience for it, then they decide to silence it. It's disturbing to me. This show's being investigated for so-called harmful information by Ofcom. And yet, on the other hand, we have evidence, most recently in that survey from the European Society of Cardiology, that real harm has actually, nobody's been harmed by anything that I've said, but people actually have been harmed by the propaganda. They were told they had to get this shot, they got this shot, some of them died, some of them have been crippled. and yet Ofcom apparently has decided there's only one view permitted on this story.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Alsim Malhotra has been on GB News, and he was in our film. And basically, he's calling not actually for the vaccines to be cancelled, he's calling for them to be suspended until we can look at independent analysis, which seems to me to be a perfectly reasonable view to take, especially when he's seen 14,000 extra cardiac arrests between 2020 and 2021. Now, the main different factor in those 2 years is the vaccine. So it is medically prudent of him to ask for them to be suspended until we can have a look at the data. I mean, Pfizer's own data, shows that these drugs had awful potential side effects. I don't know how long they can hold back the flow, because the growth of world opinion in a lot of scientific circles is growing as such that sooner or later it'll have to crack. At least I hope so.
No, I think you're right there, Mark. Give our boss a call at GB News, because if YouTube aren't going to air this thing, you should do some deal with the head honcho here at GB News, and we should put it out. We would be doing the public a service. The groupthink British media has utterly failed its audience these last 3 years. Thank you very much, Mark Sharman. And the film is called Safe and Effective: A Second Opinion.